Tonight I would like to expand upon a theme that I suggested in my Yom Kippur sermon, which I trust 2 or 3 of you still remember. Of all sections of the Declaration of Independence, the preamble is the quintessential expression of American philosophy and principles. And of all the words of that preamble, the most famous are the pursuit of happiness. America's founding fathers set this freedom as one of the 3 foundations of our nation, on a par with life and liberty. No other country has happiness written into its birth certificate. But when he wrote the Declaration, Jefferson did not specify the meaning of happiness, opting to allow the individual to determine its implications. Apparently, the criteria for happiness are not self-evident truths. And how could Jefferson have done otherwise but to leave this term happiness undefined? For the meaning of happiness is not fixed. It changes from era to era and transforms over the lifetime of an individual. Whereas younger people are more likely to associate happiness with excitement, older people are more likely to associate happiness with feeling peaceful. America's founders identified happiness with public service. Today we connect happiness with personal pleasure. I take up the theme of happiness because Sukkot is the most joyous of the 3 biblically mandated festivals. While Pesach is named the season of our liberation, and Shavuot is called the season of the giving of the Torah, Sukkot is called Zman Simchatenu, the season of our happiness. Our most fervent ambition is the quest for happiness. More than any other, this search dominates our individual and societal agenda. Though the founders wrote of our right to pursue happiness, they could not guarantee that we would catch it. For no matter our achievements and successes, trying to grasp happiness is like trying to touch the horizon. When John D. Rockefeller, the wealthiest man in the history of America, was asked how much money he really needed, he answered, just a little bit more. We seem to always need just a little more, and then we can pronounce ourselves to be happy. Sometimes we are far away. Sometimes we are tantalizingly close. But no matter where we are in our pursuit, we are able to definitively declare ourselves to be happy. A truism is recorded in the Mishnah. He who has 100 desires 200. And he who has 200 craves 400. The Midrash explains the Hebrew word evyon, which means a pauper, as deriving from the word ta'ev, a man of desires, one who has an insatiable, bottomless appetite for everything he sees. Rabbi Joel Padowitz teaches that there is much to learn about happiness from a man named Dr. James H. Clark. Some of you know Dr. Clark is an entrepreneurial genius. and a self-made billionaire. In 1981, he left his prestigious position as professor of computer science at Stanford to establish his first company, Silicon Graphics. Academia was fine, but he wanted something more. At the time, he said that a fortune of $10 million would make him happy. Silicon Graphics became the undisputed world leader in computer graphics technology. Things were looking good for Dr. Clark. He had attained his $10 million dream, but somehow he wasn't satisfied. In 1994, he invested $5 million to create Netscape, an interface to access the nascent World Wide Web. At the time, he said that a fortune of $100 million would make him happy. Now, Netscape was a roaring success. Within months, the company went public with an IPO price of $28 per share, closing at $75 on the first day of trading, nearly the record for a first-day gain. And the revenue doubled every quarter in 1995. Dr. Clark rode a wave of success that few of us can imagine. But he wanted more. In 1998, before founding his next company, Healthion, he said it would take $1 billion to make him happy. Healthion became another billion-dollar company, but didn't quite get Dr. Clark into the billionaires club himself. On the bright side, though, by 1999, Netscape did. In fact, it raised its net worth to $2 billion. That was exciting. But for some reason, Dr. Clark wasn't satisfied after all. He left Netscape to found my CFO. Why? Well, as he put it, once I have more than Larry Ellison, I'll be satisfied. The last time Dr. Clark was on the Forbes list of billionaires was in 2007, when he was ranked the 840th richest person in the world. Unfortunately for him, Larry Ellison was ranked 11th, and has since risen even higher. I'm sure this has all been quite a disappointment for him. The good news is that he apparently found other ambitions. In 2006, he divorced his third wife, 15 years, and began dating an Australian supermodel, 36 years his junior. In 2009, she became wife number 4. I certainly hope he will now be happy, but I have the sneaking suspicion that he isn't. For as Rabbi Noah Weinberg said, if you're not happy with what you have, you'll never be happy with what you get. Dr. Clark had ignored the millennial-old biblical wisdom of the book of Ecclesiastes. One who loves money will never be satisfied by it. Now, we often presume that happiness is a byproduct of success. But studies show that economic growth in almost all developed countries has brought only a very small rise in subjective well-being. USC researchers concluded that if you follow individuals over time, from lower income to higher income, you find no increase in their happiness. After the 400 members of Forbes' richest list were surveyed, the findings concluded that their satisfaction was at the same level as the Maasai of Kenya and the Inuit of northern Greenland, people who have no electricity or running water. So as the old saying goes, money can buy you a house, but it can't buy you a home. Our mandate on Sukkot is to be happy. We construct rickety huts to emphasize that happiness is not derived from the square footage of our homes or from the designer furniture we select to adorn them. No, the measure of happiness is not in things. Elizabeth Taylor, who knew something about things, once responded to an event in her life with an insight that deserves to be remembered. Thieves had broken into her safety deposit box, stealing a considerable amount of expensive jewelry. Reporters asked her after she learned of her loss, "Miss Taylor, did you cry?" Her answer was simple: "I don't cry for things that won't cry for me." As Rabbi Padowitz writes, happiness comes not from all the things we have amassed, but from what we still have when stripped of all those things. And I would identify what we still have left as our good name, our character, our integrity, our beliefs, our values, and our relationships. On Sukkot, as we consider the humble booth, we are reminded that happiness lies not in physical riches, but in spiritual faith. What Jefferson left vague in the Declaration of Independence, the Torah makes crystal clear. You can pursue it all you like, but true happiness can only be found in counting your blessings. True happiness can only be found in generosity of substance and spirit. True happiness can only be found not in what we have, but in what we are, and then in what we become. Amen.